Isometric emotions are techniques developed to encompass all core elements related to primary emotional responses and adaptation processes. These range from muscular reflexes for protection, like when we quickly pull back a wounded hand, and breath holding, as when we stub our toe or experience trauma, to feelings of anger or helplessness. They also include the interplay between sympathetic and parasympathetic systems, visual representations, body maps, and identity. To address these levels, isometric emotions introduce a series of exercises, each with its own variations. The common thread is isometric contractions, which occur when a muscle is engaged but not shortened. For example, when we try to push or pull something anchored to a wall. We choose isometric contractions because they have strong neurobiological implications at physical level, average tone, muscular release mechanisms, peripheral memory, activation of the fascia as a sensory organ, etc., and at an emotional psychological level, allowing experimentation with power and impotence, stimulating the alteration of body maps, helping to perceive resources, and much more. We will use isometric contractions, but also small and micro movements in a targeted way to achieve specific goals. We will work on subtle physical changes, on being aware of them and their consequences at mental, emotional, and physical levels. Focused attention, intentionality, control, and precision are also key elements necessary to promote change, neural plasticity, and new epigenetic markers. We will use the word emotions in a broad sense, including the traditional intended emotions, but also adaptation systems and related sensory perception, feelings, moods, stress reactions. We will work on negative emotions and affects, but positive emotions are also relevant to us, and we can use isometric emotions to work on gratitude, pride, mastery, power, and so on. Isometric emotions can be declined in different ways, each with its own specific objectives. To favor a muscle release of tension accumulated over long periods of time, due to constant stressful events over time. This is thus possible to break vicious psychosomatic circles and bring the adaptation recovery process back to physiology. To intervene on the alteration that takes place during trauma, in which breathing blockage and a feeling of impotence alter motor schemes, supporting dysfunctions at identity and active self-regulation level. As an instrument to help the recovery of a correct alternation between sympathetic and parasympathetic system, thus enabling active regulation that is contextually adequate and modulated under our control. The base mode requires a few repetitions, usually 3-4, of isometric contraction in conditions of forced physiology, or, in other words, exhaling in contraction for around 5-8 seconds and inhaling in a recovery phase for 7-10 seconds. During these contractions, it is possible to analyze various issues: levels of active physical awareness, ability for fine motor control of every movement, the activation of all the muscles engaged in stress responses that are not actually required, distinguishing between postural and emotional schemas, awareness, functional activation, the active ability to enter a recovery phase can all be amplified and used in synergy with the various variations that aim to shift focus on different elements: the self, others, the context, and by introducing the cognitive sphere as an element of a fine-tune, such as, for example, attributing a numerical, percentual, or symbolic value to the variations introduced with a request such as "now contract at exactly 60% of your maximum strength."